Good afternoon and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning into today's webinar on building a robust IT asset management process using ServiceDesk Plus Cloud. I'm Nikhil. I'm one of the customer success managers for ServiceDesk Plus Cloud, and I'm going to be the presenter for today. So a quick heads up on what exactly we are going to see today. So in this session, we are going to explore how exactly the assets can be brought into your ServiceDesk Plus instance. We are also going to see how exactly the hardware and the software details can be automatically tracked and updated in your ServiceDesk Plus instance, along with configuring asset fields, additional fields, and asset attributes as well. And even after you have all of the data, the main thing is reporting, right? And automation. So we are going to see the automation capabilities and the reporting capabilities we have with respect to ITAM in ServiceDesk Plus Cloud. So you need to ensure that you have an automation in place, you track the hardware and your software, and you ensure that you have a proper reporting in place to track your overall assets, to ensure that there are no gaps whatsoever in your IT asset management tracking. So how do you get started with ITAM for your enterprise, right? So the very first step is to discover the assets and bring them to a single source of truth, which is your ServiceDesk Plus. So we have a couple of methods such as probe scans and barcodes, which can help you discover these assets. So let me quickly navigate to the product and show you how exactly you can set up these probes, what these probes are, what scanning capabilities we have, and how exactly you can add assets. And just a quick heads up for those who joined late, you always have a Q&A panel on the left-hand side of your screen. You also have a chat towards the left-hand side of your screen. So if you have any questions during the course of this webinar, please make use of the Q&A panel and we will have all your questions answered. Right? So let's navigate directly to the product and see how exactly you can discover the assets. So I've currently logged into the enterprise version of ServiceDesk Plus as an SD admin. So if you notice, I'm on the setup area of the screen. So when you click on setup, you have an area called probes and discovery. So a probe is nothing but a lightweight executable file, which has to be downloaded and installed on a Windows machine, right? So you can just click on add probe over here on the UI level to add a new probe. So let me call this as UK probe for now. So you can associate a probe with a site as well, right? So if this is a part of a particular site which I've added under my instance configurations, you can choose the site and click on add. The prerequisite for running the probe is mentioned over here. So you have a dependent software, which is .NET Framework 4.5 or above, and you have an operating system which requires a Windows Server 2012 or higher, or a Windows 8 or higher, right? So the probe is installed on a Windows machine is what I said. So here you can make use of the download probe option to download the probe file. And as and when the installer progresses, it'll ask you for a probe key. So as soon as you add a probe on the UI level, against every probe record you add on the UI level, you'll have a show key option on the right-hand side. So as soon as you click on the show key option, this becomes the registration key when the exe file is being, or the MSI file is being installed in your Windows machine, right? So once you pass this probe key, the probe will be all set and up for running. And what you could do is you can schedule the probe to be run at a specific time interval. So it could be a daily scan, it could be a weekly scan, a periodic, monthly, or a one-time scan as well, right? Now, what are these scans? What scan options are available might be a question. So we have a couple of scanning methods. So we have domain scan. So if you have your machines listed on your AD level, you can directly go ahead and click on the new domain option. You can enter the probe name, which is the ones you've added in the probe area. You can also exclude a certain set of devices by clicking on exclude devices. This could be done based on an IP address range, or the host name as well, right? So you can add multiple records based on your preference. So apart from selecting the probe and excluding devices, The main few set of information which are mandatory, as you can see, you have asterisks over here in red. So you'll need to pass the domain name, the domain controller, and the login name as well. So the password can be set or it can be reset in this area. In case you want to use SSL for secure LDAP query, you can enable this option as well. You can pass the base DN in this area. You can have a description just for reference. And if you want to enable the software scan for Linux, Mac machine, and AIX, you need to enable this option over here, right? So this is how you can configure your domain scan within ServiceDesk Plus. So apart from the domain scan option, we have network scans. So if you don't have the devices in your AD, and rather if you have the devices in several IP ranges, maybe in a single location or across the globe, you can go ahead and click on New Network. You can either scan the entire network or you can scan a specific network or an IP range. Once again, you have an option to choose the probe. You can pass a description, and this is the area where you can click and select the credentials you have added for your devices. Right, so you can either add credentials by clicking on the plus button or the new credential option against Windows, Linux, SNMP, or VMware over here, as in when you're configuring the new network scan. Or what you can do is you have the credential library listed on the left-hand side panel, which is the second option under probes and discovery, where you can click on new credential and add your credential type. So it could be a Windows or a SQL Server. You can have VMware, SSH, and SNMP credentials saved over here as well. Right, so you can pass the user details or the administrator credentials over here to ensure that as and when you configure a network scan against a particular probe and a site, you can just select the type of device you're expecting to be discovered, pass the credential, and you're all set. Right, so as and when the probe reaches its scheduled time to scan, it will automatically scan those sets of networks or the IP ranges you have given. It will pass the admin credential or the user credential which you have provided in this area, and the probe scan will automatically discover the hardware details and the software details of the asset, and it will populate within the asset management module which you have over here. Right, so apart from this, we have SCCM integration as well. So this is very straightforward. All you need to do is just click on new SCCM settings, pass the database host name, the port, database name, choose the authentication modes, and select the probe, and you should be all set. Right, so these are the methods through which you can auto discover the assets which are available either in your domain or within your network, or if you have your SCCM integrated. Now, what if your assets are outside your network, or what if your assets are roaming, right? So we have an option under settings where you can click on scan script and make use of either the self-scan.exe option for Windows machines or the scan_script.sh for your Linux or Mac machines to discover the assets which are not connected to your VPN or not connected to your intranet, right? So in order to do this, all you need to do is just download this file, for example, scan_script.sh. So I'm using a Mac, so I have to use the scan_script.sh file over here. So this hyperlink will showcase the API key. So using this API key, the details will be captured based on the scan, and the details will be populated within the asset repository within your Service Desk instance. So to get started with the scan script, you need to initiate the terminal. So this is how the terminal looks like. And once you're within the terminal, all you need to do is locate the file, have bash space scan_script.sh, and just give a space and paste the API key which you have copied from this particular area. So once again, just a quick heads up, it's under probes and discovery, under settings, and under scan script, right? So once you've passed this information over here, in case you want to pass or enable the software scan, all you need to do is enter SW_scan equals true and hit enter, and you will see that the software scan has been enabled. The scan result will be uploaded to the server, and you should see the latest details of this machine reflecting in the ServiceDesk Plus account, right? So let's give it a few more seconds, In the meanwhile, I'm just going to navigate to the ServiceDesk Plus application once again, and I'm going to show you where exactly this asset will be populated, right? So if I navigate back to ServiceDesk Plus, if you navigate on the top to the menu bar, you have the asset module. So when I click on assets, um, you'll have the list of assets listed on the left hand side based on what type of product is being discovered by the scan. So you have IT assets which can be configured and detected automatically through the scans, which include devices or product types such as access points, printers, routers, scanners, could be switches, it could be workstations, including laptops or desktops, it could be servers, etc. Right? So this particular scan script was run on my machine, which is a Mac, right? So as and when the scan script is being run on a machine, you get to see the symbol of the device. So all of these which don't have a symbol, which just have a monitor symbol, means that it is not yet discovered what OS type that particular machine is running. So as soon as a scan is run, if it's a Windows, you'll see the Windows symbol. If it's Linux, you'll see a Linux symbol. Or if it is a Mac, you'll see a Mac symbol over here, right? So this is my machine, which was just scanned. So let me just go here. So it says successfully uploaded scan result to the server, right? So which means this is the latest information. So the time is 9:47 p.m. right here in India. So you see the last success scan time says it's 9:47 p.m. on July 24th, right? So this is my laptop name. I have a service tag. This is a logged in user. The state is in use. So the model, the operating system, the basic details such as the serial number, etc., will be automatically discovered by the probe. We have a few more additional details which I have configured in my instance. I'll show you where exactly this can be configured as and when we course through this particular demo. So as and when your probe scans information, or when the self-scan scans the information, it's not just these basic details you see on the screen which can be scanned, right? So you have a hardware tab which will list information such as the computer system name, the model, the service tag, the BIOS version, the operating system, the version, build number, etc. And not just that, it also populates the physical memory, the virtual memory, the what processor this particular machine is running in, the network drives, the disk space, and the network adapter information, right? So all of these will be available for you, and these details can also be reported, and you can make further automation based out of these values as well, right? And as and when you navigate to the next tab, you have information such as what software and what software suite is being used in a particular user's machine, right? So this lists all the software which is being used in my machine, let's say. So I have about 322 software which I'm currently using, right? And navigating further, you have relationships. So in case my asset is connected to a particular, let's say a monitor, if it's connected to a business service such as an email server, an email system, or let's say a printer, a router, an access point, etc., I can also make use of this area which is connected and attached to connect the components, the assets, the business services, as well as the users as well, right? You can always click on add relationships, and you can start associating or dissociating options from here. Moving forward, you have contracts and financials, where you can track information such as your from which vendor did you sign up a contract with. Is it a support contract? Is it a maintenance contract? So all of these details can be added in the contract module, and that information will be populated over here for you to view, right? And in case you're making use of a purchase order of the purchase module to create a PO and to receive the assets within your ServiceDesk Plus instance, your financials can also be tracked from this particular space, right? So clicking on financials will allow you to see what is the PO number, when exactly the PO was raised, what is the purchase cost, what is the operational cost, etc. So I'm just going to refresh my screen real quick to show you how exactly the PO information could look like. In the meanwhile, let me just navigate back to the slide to see where we are at, right? So yeah, so we spoke about probe scans, and we spoke about the domain scan information, the network scan information, and we spoke about excluding devices. So we have yet another interesting option, such as scanning barcodes and QR codes. Just give me a quick sec. Let me just showcase the financials part before we get there. So under financials, you have the costs such as purchase cost, operational cost, like I spoke about earlier. You also have the total cost of ownership, which can be added and maintained using this particular area. And not just that, you can also calculate the depreciation as well, right? So you have an option to configure the depreciation depending on the depreciation method you would like to go ahead with. It could be a declining balance, double declining balance, straight line, or some of the year's digit. And the ServiceDesk Plus application will automatically give you the depreciation schedule for your, for on an annual basis as well as a monthly basis as well, right? And across all the modules in ServiceDesk Plus, you have a history tab. So this plays a major role for your asset audits, right? So if you want to know when exactly a system was scanned, who was using that particular machine, where was it last identified or located. So all this information, including any small edit or change being made to a particular machine or an asset, can be tracked using the history, right? So this is a quick overview on how exactly the asset can look like within your ServiceDesk Plus platform. And we spoke about auto discovery methods such as initiating a probe scan using the domain scan and the network scanning capabilities. So apart from this, we have a couple of more methods using which you can add your assets, right? So within the asset module, like I said, you have the IT bracket or the IT folder within which you see a lot of product types. Likewise, we have a non-IT bucket under which you can configure what non-IT devices you have and add your records manually or using a CSV import as well, right? We also have a virtual host and a VM section, which will automatically discover the virtual hosts and virtual machines if it is a part of the scan. Or if you'd like to go ahead and add the records manually, you can always go ahead and click on new, or you can always import from a CSV if you have a CSV filled with information, right? So basically, there are two different types of assets. One is IT and the other one is non-IT, or rather asset types. So IT and non-IT. Within IT and non-IT, you can have either assets, you can have asset components, or you can have consumables as well, right? So within asset components, you can still drill down between IT and non-IT, and within consumables, you can still drill down between IT and non-IT, right? So these are the areas in which you can add the data depending on what you'd like to add. So for instance, if you'd like to add a manual record for your workstation, all you need to do is click on new, and you will have a canvas where you can fill in the computer name, the model, the service tag, and all the information which you just saw in the previous screen, which was a part of the scan, right? So this is a manual method of adding an asset by clicking on the new button. Now, in case you have a spreadsheet with the asset information, and if you just want to do an import, what you can do is you can either navigate to let's say the asset section within ServiceDesk Plus, navigate to the product type you would like to import the CSV, click on import from CSV option, and that will take you directly to the data administration and import data area. So here, depending on the asset type, all you need to do is choose if you want to add records and update, if you want to update the records if it already exists, if you want to delete existing records and add new records, or if you want to ignore duplicate records. That's completely up to you, right? And you have a sample file which can be downloaded, and this is not just for workstation. So if you notice, when you navigate back to import data, you have different modules you can choose from. If you scroll further down, you'll see asset types such as workstation, mobile devices, assets, components, consumable quantity details, software licenses, and consumable allocations. So irrespective of what asset type you choose, the sample file will keep changing dynamically for you to download and update the records in a particular format. And let's say if I want to let's say update a workstation, so all I need to do is just download this file, and once the file is downloaded, I can just click on locate file, navigate to, let's say, documents, choose this particular file, and once the file is uploaded over here, all you need to do is just click on next, and the workstation details along with the details which are available in the file would be populated over here. So let me just open the file real quick so that you get an idea. So I'm just going to downloads and I'm just going to open this particular file. Just give me a sec. Yeah, so this is how the file looks like. So this is a workstation sample data file. So you have the users or the workstation's name. You have the workstation model. Is it a server or is it a workstation? Is what you can populate here. What VM type or VM platform is it? What is the asset tag, serial number, barcode, PO information, the location, and all the asset detail, alongside the additional fields if you want to add, can be added as a part of this sheet. So you can completely customize the sheet. You can customize the column names. You can add or remove columns. That's completely your choice. It all depends on how exactly you map it within this particular area. So if you go ahead with the sample file, you will save a lot of manual work by mapping each and every single field with the field values which are available in the system. So on the left, the values or the attributes you see are from ServiceDesk Plus, such as the workstation name, the model, the service tag, the VM type, etc. So all of these are the actual attributes from ServiceDesk Plus, and the ones you see over here are the drop-down values, which are nothing but the column names which are available in the file you had just attempted to import, right? So once you've done this mapping either automatically or manually, all you need to do is just click on next, and you can expect the import to begin as soon as you click on import on the import button, right? You will have a prompt which says or a notification which says the import was successful or the import failed, depending on how exactly you've placed the data. And you can also view the result of the import by clicking on this hyperlink as well. So you can see the status, and in case of any failure, you can see the failure status along with the message as well, right? If in case you did not pass the value in a particular format, or if you missed adding a few fields, or if the value was not added in your configuration, that is something which can be flagged under the message area as well in case of failures, right? So this is how you can import the data if you have the data ready-made in a spreadsheet. Now, the other important option which I was trying to explain was when you navigate to the asset module, you can scan a barcode, or you can even generate a barcode in the application, right? So when you navigate to the asset module, on the left hand side you have a barcode option. So when you click on barcode, you have this option which says generate barcode. So you can either go with adding new assets using the vendor's barcode. In case you want to generate your own barcodes, that is also possible. Or if you want to just update the barcodes for existing assets, you can do that as well, right? So let's say if you want to generate your own barcode, you need to click on this particular area. Just do a simple click on this icon which you see on the screen, and that will take you to a page where all you need to do is just make use of a USB scanner or a shooter to initiate the scan by scanning a barcode or a QR code. So let me just refresh the page real quick. So you can also make use of the chat area to showcase your interest on how many people would like to go ahead with a barcode approach or a QR code approach for bringing in your assets within your ServiceDesk Plus account while the screen loads. And in case you need any assistance in setting up or bringing in your assets through multiple discovery modes, if you want to write to us, if you want a personalized demo, or if you want a one-on-one session, please write to us at hello@servicedeskplus.com, or you can always write to our support email address. I'm sure the support email address will be on the chat by now. So if you don't have it, just take a note of the support email address, which I'm adding on the chat as well. So while this loads, I'm just going to quickly share my mobile screen to show you how exactly a barcode can be scanned using the mobile app as well. So for those of you who don't know if there's a mobile app, we can have a mobile app installed for iOS and for your Android devices. So all you need to do is just click on the profile icon on the top right corner of the application, and you'll have a Mac symbol and a Google Play symbol from where you can directly go ahead and install the ServiceDesk Plus Cloud application for your maybe iPads or tablets, or even for your mobile devices. And let me just mirror my screen right now. I hope my screen is visible. So this is my iOS device, and I've installed the Services Plus Cloud application on my mobile device over here. So all you see here on the screen right now are the different instances which I have. So if I click on, let's say, the ICT instance, I navigate within the instance where I'll have a quick view on what requests are available, what pending approvals are available. So this is the default landing page when you navigate to your mobile application. So at the bottom, you have an option to add or view the assets, right? So when you click on assets, you have manage assets and add assets as two options. You can also view all the assets by clicking on all assets area, right? So all the assets which you have in your ServiceDesk Plus instance will be listed over here, and clicking on a particular machine or machine name will show you the asset details, based on whatever the scan had pulled in, or based on whatever you have imported through your spreadsheets or your manual entry as well. You can also see the hardware and the software information. So this is just a quick heads up on how exactly an asset looks like in the mobile application. So in case I want to add an asset using the barcode option, I can just click on add asset, and I have a couple of options over here. So I have scan barcode, I have QR code, and I have RFID options, right? So I have a barcode right in front of me, which I wanted to scan. So if I just click on the barcode option over here, and if I just scan this barcode, at the bottom, if you notice, you will have the barcode printed over here. So once you click on the tick mark, you can then start mapping the product type. So if this is a workstation, you can go and choose this as a workstation. You can choose the product type, right? So let's call this a Dell Inspiron. If you want to map a particular field of what exactly this value should point to, is it the service tag, or is it the asset tag or serial number? That's something which you can map. And then you can also pass the asset tag information manually if needed over here as well, right? So I'm just going to pass the asset tag over here. And when I click on add, I just need to ensure that a few mandatory fields are being populated over here for audit reference. And once I click on save, the latest asset detail will be added over here, right? So clicking on the details will will open the entire asset detail which I've just added, and the same information can be tracked in your ServiceDesk Plus web application as well, right? And through the web app, just like how you did on the mobile application, you can also click on this particular option to generate your own barcodes or add a new barcode. Add a new asset using the vendor's barcode. So just give me one quick second so that this option loads. I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this screen as well. Just give me one quick second. Yeah, I'm very sure all of y'all would have a barcode printed along with your company name and a serial number to all of your machines. In case you're not doing it, I would highly recommend that you definitely start doing it. So it's as simple as setting up a small printer right next to your sysadmin, and as and when a new asset is being received by the sysadmin, all they need to do is just scan the barcode using one of these options, map the barcode to the existing asset, or to the existing values such as, let's say, the serial number, the asset tag, or the barcode, and just print the label and stick it to the new machine which you're just onboarding. So this is an option which is generating a custom barcode. So let me just choose a product type over here. So let's go with, let's say, a workstation. And if I choose the product as Dell Inspiron over here, I get to choose the mapping field which I was talking about. So let me go with service tag for now. You can either go with a sequential method or a manual method if needed, right? So let's say I have Zilker as the name of my organization. So I have Zilk, and let's say I have Corp as the suffix. So it should start from, let's say, 001. And if I want to have, let's say, 5 barcodes which I would like to have printed, all I need to do is just go ahead and click on add asset. So 5 assets will be added. So I get to apply the site to all of these assets, and I get to have an asset tag populated over here as well, along with the acquisition date. So once all of these details or the mandatory details have been added, all you need to do is just click on continue to print, and here you'll have 2 options, barcode and or QR code to choose from. All you need to do is just click on the plus button over here, which is new label property, pass the property name. So this is let's say barcode 5, for example. I can pass the width and the height which I'd like to automatically create. Labels in row could be 2, gap in inches can once again be 2, and if I click on save, this is how the barcodes could look like. Right now, all you need to do is just go ahead and click on print, and you can have a sticker printer print all of these barcodes for you in one shot. All you need to do is just remove the stickers, label it on every single machine you want to send out to your new users or to your existing users, and you're all set. Right? So your asset manager, whenever they want to do an audit, they can make use of literally the mobile app. Just click on manage assets, just scan either the barcode or the QR code and view the information right in their hands as well, in their handset, or it could be on a tablet or an iPad as well. Right? So audits could be made much more simpler using the barcode and the QR options which are available. So these are all the different methods through which assets can be brought in to your ServiceDesk Plus. Right? So let's navigate real quick to see what exactly we have covered so far. So we spoke about barcode and QR code as well, and we spoke about the different file imports and how exactly the file imports can be done. Right? Now, for those devices which are being brought in as a part of the scan, and for those devices which the probe doesn't understand, you can configure something called as an unknown object identifier or an unknown OID. Right? So that can be done in the application by navigating to setup and by navigating to the settings area under probes and discovery. So we have an unknown OID section right next to exclude devices, and all you need to do is click on new OID, configure the object identifier, configure the product type, and configure the product, and you should be all set. Right? So we have a file in the backend which keeps up, which the OID as and when you add will be updated on the sheet in the backend, or the file in the backend. So as and when the probe initiates the scan, and during your successive scans, the new OIDs or the object identifiers you have configured will automatically be detected by the probe scan as well. Right? So that is how you can make sure that your scan is bringing in 100% information of all the assets which you have within your enterprise application, right, or within your organization. Now, how exactly do you track software and software licenses is what we are going to see next. Right? So far we saw how exactly your assets can be brought into your ServiceDesk Plus, and we saw how the hardware section can be automatically discovered. So when you navigate to the asset section once again, and let's say when you navigate to a workstation under assets and under IT, we did see that there was a tab dedicated to software, right? When we navigated within a particular workstation. So this lists the software from one single user's machine. Now, what if you want to have a consolidated view of all the software which is being used by all your users' machines? So for this, we've brought in a software section where you have scan software, which will list the complete set of information from all the users' machines. So I have 961 software running in all the users' machines, which have been scanned so far in my instance, right? And this lists the type as well. So is it an unidentified software? Is it a managed software? Or is it a prohibited software? Is something which can be tracked from this particular area, right? So when you navigate further down, you have license agreements which can be tracked, as well as software licenses. So let's cover the software licenses first before we navigate to license agreements. So when you click on new software license, So just a quick heads up, the software license management is manual as of now. So the probe and the self-scan is capable of scanning the hardware and the software as of now, but the software licenses have to be manually managed. So for your SaaS software, if you want an auto discovery, we have a SaaS Manager Plus as one of our products within ManageEngine. So if you are interested in reviewing SaaS Manager Plus, just write to us or drop us a quick note on the chat, which is available on the left-hand side panel, and we'll help you with the necessary information. Right. So when it comes to software licenses, you can either do an import from the CSV, or you can go ahead and click on new software license to add the software information, the software licensing information. So it could be as simple as the license name, what type of software it is, what is the license type, is it individual, is it a CAL license, is it a node-based license, is it a user-based license. So all of these license types can be configured. The license options can be added. If you are associating this particular software with a contract, and if you would like to see the contract information or track the contract information along with the acquisition date, the contract date, the agreement date, the vendor information, so all of these information can be tracked as a part of the software license over here. And the direct contract from the contract module can also be listed and mapped over here as well. Right. So let me navigate back to the asset and back to the software. So when you click on new software license, so this is where you can choose the manufacturer, the managed software, and then you can choose the license types, etc. You also have downgrade rights which can be added as a part of the software license. Now once the software license has been added, you need to ensure that every software is being managed, right? So by default, when an asset goes through a scan for the very first time, the software which is being listed will always be in the unidentified state. So when you navigate to, let's say, a software record, let me just refresh this real quick. So when you navigate to assets and when you navigate to scan software, you will see the software types listed over here. For example, if I navigate to this particular software, you'll see that this software is in the unidentified state as of now. So every software needs to be manually mapped as managed, so that you enable the compliance type over here for your software. And depending on how many machines are using this software, you get to see the installations as well. Now, as and when you procure a license in real time, you can click on the license tab over here. You can click on new standard license. So all you need to do is just click on licenses, add new standard license, and go ahead and map your licensing type over here. So let me navigate here to volume, and let's choose this as 3. So let's say the installation allowed is 3 as of now. So you can add details such as the acquisition date, expiry date, license keys, etc. If in case you have downgrade rights and if you want to add them as a part of your software license, you can do that as well. And as and when you add the volume license, it'll be listed like this. And you have an option here to allocate the licenses to the machines which are using the software as well. So all you need to do is just click on this icon over here, which is allocate, choose the machines you want to allocate the license, and click on allocate license. So once you do that, the licenses will be allocated for the workstations, and you will get to see the change in compliance type, right? So you see that the compliance type has changed to compliant. Now, this is because the installations allowed is 3 and the allocated count is 3. Now, in case you add another machine, for example, you will see that the compliance type immediately changes to under licensed, and it says in which particular site as well. So when it comes, in terms of an asset audit or a licensing audit, you get to track your budgets in terms of how much you've spent versus your actual usage, right? And all of this information can be reported, and it can be also viewed in your dashboards as well, which I'll be, showcasing towards the very end of this session. Now, how exactly can you configure details such as the software types, the licenses, and the asset types overall, right? So when you navigate here, you saw IT, you saw non-IT, and within them you saw a lot of product types, you saw workstations, you saw a lot of options within the workstations as well, such as the different states, the different fields which are available within the assets, etc., right? Such as the service tag, the purchase cost, all of these additional fields. So all what you see on the screen, be it on the software area or on the actual asset area, can be customized, and the entire customization for the asset module is available over here. So when you navigate to setup, you have customization and you have asset management. So within asset management, you have product types. So that's exactly what you saw on the left-hand side of the screen when you navigated to the asset module. So let me just open this in a new tab just to give you a quick heads up on where exactly these options are. So on the left, when you navigate to assets, you see IT, and then you see a lot of product types which you've listed. So that's exactly what you see over here under customization and asset management. A few product types, because it is automatically scanned and brought in by the probe, a few product types cannot be edited or amended or deleted, whereas you can always add new product types based on whatever product types you would like to track within your ServiceDesk Plus instance. So all you need to do is just navigate to your product type area and just click on new product type and add a new product type. So the next option you have is product. All the products which are being discovered by the scan, or it could be a probe scan or could be a self scan, will be listed over here. So this is where you can configure a new product. You can choose if it is a workstation or an access point or a printer, router, or a scanner. You can choose if it is a laptop or a desktop. So this is a common mistake which most users or most customers of ours make. So they generally add product types such as laptops and desktops under this particular area, which is product type, which is not recommended, right? So we have configured the tool in such a way that the product type is automatically discovered as a workstation. So when you navigate to the right hand side over here, you would see that you have workstations as a product type. And when you navigate to product, you will have an option to choose if it is a laptop or a desktop from this area, right? So when you navigate to product, you will have workstation, and this is the area where you can configure if it's a laptop or a desktop and not under product type. So this is a quick hint I would like to give if users are finding duplicates in your machines or in your instances. So just try to remove the custom product types you've created and just map it with your workstation, and you should be all set, right? So this is the area where you can add your products, including the description of the products, images, the cost, the GL codes, etc. You can always configure depreciation for your products over here. Each product can be further associated with vendors. So you can configure your vendors in this space, and you can associate your vendors by just clicking on the associate area. And just a quick tip, when you navigate to the product type, and as in when you're clicking on new product type, this is the area where you can add the type of product you're looking to add. Is it an asset? Is it a component or a consumable, or something which you can choose here in this space? And you can choose if it is the IT category, or if it should be under the non-IT category. So one question which you might have with regards to licensing is that, will non-IT assets also need a license? The answer is no. Only the IT category product types will be accountable for licensing. Right? So if you have further questions related to licensing, or how much license you might require for certain types of devices you're looking to scan, please write to us, or to the support email address which is on the chat, or just drop a quick note on the chat, and we clarify this information for you. So moving further down, you have service types which can be configured. You have service, vendor, and software types. All of these are self-explanatory. It's pretty straightforward. All you need to do is just click on new, or just edit the existing information, and you should be all set, right? So talking about software and software licensing and categories, you can classify the software category from this space. You have software license types, which can be managed from this space, and you have asset states, right? So this is a very important area when it comes in terms of asset lifecycle management, right? So every asset goes through different states throughout its lifecycle. So when you purchase an asset, be it through a vendor, be it through a PO, or be it a manual purchase, by walking into a store, you will have the initial asset state as in store, right? So whatever asset is being discovered by the scan or through the self scan or through a manual addition, the asset state will always be in store. From in store, you have to manually change the asset to different statuses. So let me just open a particular asset and show you where exactly the asset states can be managed. So when you navigate to an asset, on the right hand side you have states. So this is a drop down, and from here you get to choose if this asset is in store, if it is in use, if it is in repair, ghost asset, disposed, expired, etc. Right? So there are a few asset types which are available by default in your application. You can always go ahead and add new asset states or custom asset states depending on your requirements. Right? So we have disposed and expired, which are two states which will not be included in your licensing. The rest of the custom asset states along with the predefined asset states will be included in your licensing, right? So these are the quick tips and tricks I wanted to highlight, because we'll be talking about automation in a couple of seconds from now. So make sure you have your asset states listed over here before you even think of configuring automation for your existing assets. And as and when you have assets in your system, you can enable asset acknowledgement as well, and you can configure the acknowledgement form to be sent for selective product types or for all product types. So this was a recent enhancement which was added to the application. So the asset acknowledgement has to be enabled from the customization and asset management space. Once you enable, choose the product types, choose advanced criteria. This is nothing but your filtering options based on which your acknowledgement form would be triggered to your end users, right? So you can always save and view a quick preview of how exactly the acknowledgement form would look like as well, right? And moving forward, you have your software license types, which can also be managed. So you have your node lock license, your volume license, individual license. So all of these are predefined. Just to give you an idea on how exactly you can get started with the software license type tracking. You can always add new license types and ensure that they're being tracked in your instance as well. So now, since we've spoken about hardware, we've spoken about software, we've spoken about different asset types, and since we've spoken about asset states, let's now quickly jump into the automation capabilities. So when you navigate to automation, you have what is called as life cycles, which can be added for your assets. And then you have your workflows, which can be added for your assets as well, right? So I'm just opening this in a new tab just to give you a quick preview. So as and when you click on the asset module over here under lifecycle, you can configure a brand new lifecycle, and you can play around with different states you have configured to have a lifecycle like this, right? So this lifecycle applies to a particular product type. So as and when you initiate a new lifecycle, you need to choose a product type. So let me just quickly show you how it looks like. So let's call this as a server life cycle. This applies to servers. And if I click on next, I'll have an empty canvas. So this is nothing but a simple drag and drop canvas where I can drag the list of states which are available on the right hand side and configure a life cycle from scratch. So I'm sure you would have explored the lifecycle options for the request module. If you've not, please go ahead and explore. The same functionality is available for the asset module as well, right? So let's say if I have an in-store state, an in-use state, and let's say if I have an in-repair state, and if I want to just have an automation in this particular area before it goes to the, let's say, dispose state, and before the flow ends, I can configure a simple lifecycle like this, right? And you see these red rhombuses as in when you've configured and connected the lines. So these are your transition elements. So you can you name these transitions. So you can have this as asset in store. And once you've added the name of the transition, this enables three states for you: a before state, during state, and an after state. In the during state, you can have mandatory fields listed. You can have a set of rules added over here. So it could be based on a set of criteria, or it could be based on no conditions. You can have a field update done, or you can abort the entire process execution, right? So you can define who exactly can view this. And in the after state, what you can do is you can expect, based on your conditions, of course, to the application to trigger a notification, to run a custom function, which is nothing but a script, or to trigger a webhook, right? So to give you a quick example and to make things much more simpler, I'm just going to open a lifecycle which I've already created in my test instance. So let me just navigate back to setup. Let me navigate to lifecycles, and let me navigate to assets. So I've created a workstation lifecycle which applies to the product type called workstations. So when it begins, I have the assets added by a barcode as one of the options. So I have mandatory fields, which is listed over here. So when it goes to in store, it could either go to in use or it could go to in repair, right? So it can only go to these two states. It cannot go to ghost asset, or it cannot go to disposed directly from the in store state. So that's how you restrict the life cycle or the asset state movement from one state to the other by involving a life cycle for your assets, right? So as and when you configure the flow, you can have scoping options to see who exactly the transition button should be visible. You can set up criteria as well. You can have furthermore mandatory fields. You can do field updates based on a particular criteria. And then you can have your custom functions which can automatically initiate a few automation as well, right? So this is how you can enable a life cycle for your assets, and this is how a life cycle would actually look like as and when you've added an asset in real time. So let me just navigate to the asset module. So we see that this is applied to the product type called workstation, right? So now when I add a workstation over here, for example, so I'm just going to name this as Mac 001, and if I choose let's say Mac as the model, and if I pass the a few parameters which are important, I'm just going to do a quick copy paste over here for the asset tag and the barcode information, just to make sure that the mandatory fields are filled in, right? So you see that the asset state is currently in store. This is what I meant by in store is always the starting state for an asset, right? So when you navigate further down and when you click on save, the asset gets added in real time, which is a workstation. And on the right hand side, you see that the state is in store. So from here, you get to see the transitions. So if I just navigate back over here to the life cycle, and if I navigate to assets, and if I navigate to workstation ALC, I see assign user and repair process with vendors, which is these two options over here, right? So from in-store, it could either go to in-use or it could go to in-repair. So if I go to in-use, if I click on assign user, I will see a pop-up which populates the location, is contractor, and user information. So if I click on assign user, this is a prompt which will be published to the end user or to the technician who is working on this particular record. So they have to assign a user in real time. They have to assign a location, let's say. So let's call this, let's say this is located in London as of now. And if the user is a contractor, they'll populate the value over here. And once they click on save, the transition gets executed. The state now changes from in store to in use. You have an acknowledgement status over here. If you want to acknowledge, you can go ahead and view the acknowledgement, which you've configured earlier on the setup area. If you want to directly go ahead and click on yes on the UI level for your acknowledgement, and if you want to go ahead and provide your comments, you can do that. And if you want to further move this asset from, let's say, in use to, let's say, a missing asset, you can go ahead and click on the missing asset process. It asks you who exactly was the last owner. So if I say administrator was the last owner over here, and if I click on save, it then changes the state to a ghost asset, which is once again a part of this particular transition. So I just clicked on missing asset process. The state then changes to ghost asset. If I click on lost asset, the asset will be marked as disposed, right? So if I navigate over here, if I click on lost asset, the transition will be executed, and you see no more transitions over here, and the asset state changes to disposed. right? So now if I navigate to the request module, you can also expect a quick automation to initiate a missing asset for Mac 001, which was done as a part of the custom function as well. So you can create a quick ticket, you can link the asset to that particular incident, and you can track the asset right away, ensuring that you have a proper asset tracking process, which will definitely be a question during your audits as well. Right? So this is a quick sample I'd shown you for workstations. Likewise, you can configure life cycles for multiple product types as well, depending on what you'd like to configure or start with. So you can go with access points, printers, routers, scanners, switches, etc. Right? So just like lifecycle, we recently introduced yet another automation called workflows. For those of you all who are not aware, navigate to workflows, which is available under setup and automation. Click on this drop down right next to workflows, click on asset, and this is where you can configure a brand new workflow for your assets. So just like how you configured a lifecycle, you can initiate a new workflow in this space. So I'm just going to initiate let's say a server workflow over here. You can choose the product type. So just a quick heads up, you can only use a life cycle or a workflow for one particular product type. You can't have two automation for the same product type, right? So if you click on save, you'll land in a blank workflow canvas where you can just click on add node, where you'll have the option to add a state. So obviously the starting state is in store. So from in store, you can either make use of these drag and drop nodes which are available to further build your flow. So let me build a basic structure over here, just like how I'd shown you earlier. So let's have an in use state over here. If you want to further go ahead and have, let's say, an in repair state, you can go have an in repair state over here. You can have yet another state called, let's say, disposed over here as well before the transition ends, right? Or before the workflow ends. So all you need to do is just add your connectors over here. And once you've added your connectors, just make sure that you have all of these connectors connected one after the other. And in case you want to have a condition listed in between, or if in case you want to have a wait for condition, or if you want to have a switch, you can always do that anywhere by removing this flow as well, right? So all you need to do is just break the connector by right clicking it, clicking on delete, just drag and drop a wait for node or a condition node if needed. For example, if you want to wait until the asset tag is not empty, you can go ahead and have an asset tag wait for condition, right? And only after the asset tag has been populated, it can then move to the next status, which is in use, right? So this is something which you can do. And if in case you want to still further track, if let's say a particular value is missing as a part of your asset tracking, you can go ahead with a few notification options as well, right? So let's say if you want to track let's say the associated to, and if you want to ensure that this field is not empty, you can go with empty association as a condition, right? And if the empty association is yes, if you want to initiate a quick notification, all you need to do is just add a new notification over here. You can have this so what were we trying to add? So this is an empty association, right? So you can ensure that a notification is added over here. So you can call this as empty association identified. You can notify a few users if needed. You can add the subject and the description of the mail which needs to be triggered to the users, and you can then click on save and select. So once you've saved, you will have a notification node which is listed over here. So now what you need to do is just make sure that these connectors are added or connected. So just delete this, go ahead and add this over here. You can also change the orientation if needed. So just go ahead and map the connections over here. If it is no, and if you want to directly send it to in use, you can do that. If it is empty, and if you want to either do a field update, run a custom function similar to how an empty ticket was created, you can go ahead and do that. If you want to invoke an API call, you can make use of webhooks. So let's say if you have a critical asset tracking process where if in case a server is being identified with an empty asset tag, and if you want to flag the sysadmin either through a Teams notification or a WhatsApp notification, you can always do that using webhooks as well. And if you want to run parallel executions, you can always make use of the branch nodes by forking the executions and by joining the executions as well, right? So by using all of these drag and drop nodes and by making use of the workflow canvas, you can come up with a simple flow to get started. So in case you have an asset lifecycle in paper, and if you want us to configure the same in the product for you, just give us a quick shout either on the chat or on our support email address, and we'd love to help you, right? So these are the different automation capabilities which we have when it comes in terms of the asset life cycles and the asset workflows in terms of asset tracking, right? So the same can be applied in your organizations as well, and you can feed us back with how exactly you feel with the asset tracking process. So what I would recommend is configure either a lifecycle or a workflow, and make sure that you have a strong asset lifecycle tracking in place so that you have a hassle-free audit in your upcoming audits. And you can also go ahead and create custom reports and predefined reports which can probably help you breeze through your audits as well. So let me just give you a quick preview on or just a quick heads up on what we saw so far. So we saw how exactly IT and non-IT assets can be classified in the application. We saw consumables and components and how it can be added. We saw software licenses and how exactly license agreements can be added. We saw where service packs can be added. We saw the automation capabilities such as life cycles and workflows as well, right? So we have a couple of more options before we move to the quiz part of the presentation. So how do you loan assets and how do you track asset replenishment? So when you navigate to the ServiceDesk Plus application, and when you navigate to the asset module, once again on the left hand side, you will find that you have an option to add your asset loans. So first of all, you'll have an area where you can track the loanable assets first. So all you need to do is click on mark loanable assets. You can search the loanable assets from this particular area, right? And all the assets which you feel can be loaned to your end users can be populated and listed over here. And once the loanable assets have been mapped over here, as in when, let's say, somebody is traveling, or somebody needs a particular type of asset for a certain set of project they are working for, you can start loaning assets and tracking the assets which are being loaned or released as well, right? So if I just type, let's say, Cisco, so I can go ahead and choose the asset name over here. So I can have a loan start date and a loan expiry date over here. I can choose to whom exactly this particular asset is being loaned to. And I can also go ahead and click on the department filter to choose the department as well. So you can either go with a user or a department and then click on save. So this is exactly how you configure an asset loan. Now navigating further down, you have replenishment. So you can start loaning assets and you can start adding assets or assigning assets to users only if you make sure that you have a proper stock of assets, right? So to make sure that you have your assets always within a particular threshold quantity, you need to have a replenishment configured in the application. And this is exactly where you configure your replenishment. So you can go with new replenishment configuration, choose the product type you'd like to go ahead and configure the replenishment for, choose the product and choose the available quantity as well, and choose the replenishment threshold, right? So this will give you an exact heads up on the available quantity, the product, and how much threshold you've added. So on the UI level, you can get to see the available quantity and the replenishment threshold as well, right? So with that, we've come to the very end of this particular presentation. So let me just give you a quick heads up on how exactly the assets can be viewed through reports and viewed through dashboards. So in ServiceDesk Plus, you have the report section, which has a set of predefined reports you can make use of. So you have asset loans as one of the folders where you can see a lot of predefined reports regarding loans. If you scroll further down, you will see reports regarding asset depreciation, and you'll see furthermore reports depending on your audits and surveys based on your servers you have, the workstations you have, and the software you've scanned and managed as well, right? Apart from the list of predefined reports, you can always create a new custom report by clicking on this option and by choosing the type as either a tabular report or a summary report, and by choosing the module as asset. And once you click on proceed to report wizard, all you need to do is just choose the report columns you'd like to see, run the report, choose a filtering option if needed, and that will give you a quick heads up on the entire set of asset inventory you've listed within your ServiceDesk Plus instance. And when you navigate to the home tab, you will have an option to view the dashboards. So you can see the dashboards for pretty much all the modules which you have within your ServiceDesk Plus. You have a dashboard dedicated specifically for assets as well. So just click on the drop down over here for assets. You also have one for software as well, which can be 100% customized. So you get to see the entire list of assets, which are IT versus non-IT, how many assets you have, how many have failed the scan or which have not yet been through a scan, your workstations by OS, the purchase orders, and your compliance as well, right? So if you need any assistance on how exactly you need to build dashboards, or how to build reports, and how to come up with such let's say widgets or charts or tables, just let us know and we would be more than happy to help you. So with that, we've come to the very end of the presentation. Thank you so much everyone for tuning into today's webinar. It's been a really great session. So if you have any further questions, write to us to hello@servicedeskplus.com or to our support email address, or you can always write to me at nikhil@manageengine.com, and we would be more than happy to help you. So thank you so much everyone, and see you all in the next session. Cheers. Bye-bye.